Hey everybody, Darren here from the Blink Podcast. Hey, it's so good to have you with us. Season 2, podcast number 2. We're really excited about today's session because in the first session we had, we were talking about the things that you need to make sure that you have in place for the year ahead. Well, today, one of the topics that we're going to be covering off is all those things that we don't want you to be doing in 2023. So my good friend, Jonathan Creek, all the way from Melbourne. Hey, it's great to have you on board with us, mate. This was a conversation that you and I had a little bit earlier last week in terms of things about what the year ahead, things that we need to be focusing on. But today, the things that we don't want to be doing. And I think some of these today are really going to help our followers and our listeners, because these are the things that can really change your result for a negative, right? If you get caught in these 5 things, I think it can really challenge you. So it's good to see you, mate, and looking forward to today's input.
Yeah, great to be back. Season 2, episode 2. If you haven't listened to episode 1, you probably need to go back and listen to episode 1 because it's the do's for 2023. But I'll just recap them quickly if you don't mind.
Good idea.
Number 1, you got to have a written plan. That, for everything that you're doing, write it down. Write down the steps that you need to take to achieve your goals, right? I know a lot of people talk about this in January. I'm going to set goals and New Year's resolutions, and then they all go out the window. Business is different. You actually need to have these. They'll make you do the things that you don't want to do and get you out of your head and the trap of being stuck in your head and falling over in business when it gets a little bit tough. So, all predictions are it might get a little bit tough this year, so a written plan is a must. Number 2, health plan. You've got to look after yourself because without your health, you've got nothing. So that's the next step. Make sure you get yourself a bit healthier. Number 3, systems. Develop systems around your processes. Understand that boring business is business bliss, as the head of Sigma Pharmaceuticals passed on to me. I think it was a great lesson. Repetitive steps that bring you results is what is going to give you calmness and predictability in your business moving forward. In the era of technology and all these advances that are going on, you have to have an HHI diet, high human interactive diet. Now, we sort of settled on the fact that it doesn't matter how you get the human interaction, but make sure you're having, you say, at least 2 face-to-face meetings a day. Now, those face-to-face meetings a day can actually still be video chats, but you have to be looking the person in the eyes, whether it's video or face-to-face for coffee, whatever 100%. It is. Still have that high human interaction despite the lure of technology saying we don't need it. No, you do. And number 5, probably the most important, is execution and accountability. Like, be accountable. Make your team accountable, not from a position of authority and demands and orders, but from a position of care. I care about you. If you execute and you're accountable on these things, you will be better off. You will succeed. And that's how we do it. So they're the 5 do's of 2023. As you mentioned, we're now going to follow up with the 5 don'ts.
And I think, mate, when you look at that list, and now that as you've gone through them like that, I think one of the things we mentioned last time as well was actually most of the stuff that we're talking about here doesn't require a massive amount of time, and it doesn't require a massive amount of sort of new learnings or things that we have to reinvent the wheel. It's actually most of the stuff that we're talking about there is most people will know it. It's just a case of that, and that's where that number 5 for me was all about, that execution and accountability. So I think that's something really got to be focusing on.
It's procrastination killers, right? So 2023 is a year of harvesting.
Yep.
Right. It's time to harvest. We've been through 2 years of disruption, time on, time off. You've now got the floods. Kids aren't at school. It's easy. You're going to have people who aren't going to be working as hard because they're at home looking after the kids. They've got different distractions. That'll let their brains wander. They'll sit there and go, maybe I'll change this, or maybe I'll change that up. Maybe I need to reinvent this or do this differently. No. That's your brain procrastinating. That's your brain slowing you down from doing the things that you don't want to do. And we all know what they are. We know what it is, right? Your brain is just slowing you down so you don't have to make those cold calls that everyone hates. I mean, it's
100%.
so. I'm with you. Like, I hate cold calls. Well, I don't hate them as much as I used to. Let's put that on the table. But if business is this simple, right? Most people are smart enough to have an offer. Most people are
Yeah.
smart enough to know how to do what they do and do it well.
Yeah.
If not, they find out pretty quickly within 6 to 12 weeks. If you're no good at what you're trying to sell, then you'll find out in 6 to 12 weeks that you're no good and it'll all fall over. So let's make some assumptions that the people we're talking to in the Blink podcast are effective business operators. They've been in business for more than 12 weeks. Their offer is pretty good because they're a smart bunch. I mean, they're listening to us, so they must be smart.
It's a start, right?
At the start, right? So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You've already got a good wheel. You say that all the time. Stop reinventing the wheel. You got a great wheel.
Just keep going.
All you got to do now is execute. Your business now, all it is making those calls.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it.
Okay, come on.
Let's go.
Things you shouldn't do this year.
The don'ts. Number one, we're gonna stop comparing ourselves to others.
I love this one.
Put up your hand. Put up your hand if you're guilty of that. Yep, 100%. I'm guilty of that. I have been locked every January. I sit there, I start snooping onto other people's Facebook pages and Instagrams and TikToks, other speakers, other trainers. It's almost like my reconnaissance period where what's everyone else doing? I just get, I'll be at the beach and I'll just get locked in, and then I just start getting this sick feeling in my stomach. Oh, they're doing better than me. Oh, he got that gig. Oh, he got that gig. Oh, they're working with them. Stop comparing yourselves to others. It's your journey. Own it. Own your own journey.
I think one of the things that I would say to this is I don't mind you looking and understanding what others do and understanding what makes them successful. So I'm not minding that part, but you did right when it comes to this whole area of, hey, I'm now going to, have a gut response to whether that I'm seeing myself as successful or not as that other person is just so dangerous, right? We can't play that game, because what we want to try to be thinking about here is making sure that we take some learnings about maybe what others are doing, but we actually command our own story. We position ourselves in the market with our unique set of skills, with our service proposition, with our offering to our clients. And that's the bit where we are completely different to what others in the marketplace do. So the whole part is, yes, take some learnings, but on the other side of the coin, let's just not compare the result, or not compare, because that's just not healthy, and it's certainly not going to give you the key drivers to get you where you need to go.
Here's the second part of that trouble. When you start comparing yourselves to others and you don't want to make cold calls, guess what you do?
Yeah.
You look at what they're doing, you go, oh, they're doing that better than mine. Oh, I've got to rewrite my course, or I've got to rewrite my training, or I've got to change my logo, I've got to upgrade my website. All these things, it's all time wasting. It's all just stopping you from getting into the position of executing and doing business. If your website's got your name, what you do, and your phone number, that's all you need. That's it.
You're done. You're done.
Right. I think Casey Neistat, who's a top YouTuber, he's got the greatest website of all time. It's a white page with black writing, says Casey Neistat, email address. That's it. It's great. It is unbelievable. And I'm like, I wish I was brave enough to do that.
Yeah, I love it. That's so cool.
You don't need anything else. Because we're following number 4. We're going to have a high human interaction diet in 2023 for our business. So if you've got that, your website doesn't need to do any of the explaining, because you can have a coffee with the person and you're going to tell them everything they need to hear anyway. And
actually have that conversation based around what their need is.
Correct.
So not about what you're going to tell the market, but actually what your customer's wanting to talk about and what they need. So that makes your conversation just so valuable. Yeah, love it.
There we go. Number 2, don't be a magpie. It really flows into what we were just talking about.
Tell me about this. Tell me about this, Mr. IT. Tell me about this, Mr. IT. Tell me about it.
I suffer, now I'm aware of it. I probably still suffer at magpie syndrome. I love new shiny things. Oh, there's a new drone on the market. Oh, I need to put drones into my videos. No, you don't. You just need to sit in front of the camera in your office. You don't need a drone. New GoPro. Oh, I need a new GoPro. Oh, there's a new
Yeah.
way of doing things. There's a new platform for online programs and training. Oh, I need that.
Oh, there's a new database. There's a new database system.
Yeah.
They've got a better system. They've got a better database.
Yeah.
I go, well, actually, your data's no good. So no matter how good your database is, your system is, if you haven't got good data in it, so how about we just start and work on the data, get that improved, and then if you want to shift it across to a different system, that's great. But let's just get the data sorted first, right?
What's even better is new database, right? I need new data. Hold on a minute.
Oh,
You haven't even reached more than 10% of the database you've already got.
pretty got.
So why do you need a new one? Right? You get numbers envy. How big's your database? Oh, I've got 2,500 people on my database. Oh, okay, I've only got 400. Oh, well, I need 2,500. Really? You've only rung 40 people out of the 400. Like, finish that.
The best line I had with a real estate agent said to me, Darren, I've got 400 people on my database. And I said, well, how long have you been in the industry for? He goes, oh, I've been in the industry 20 years. And I'm like, you've been in the industry for 20 years and you've only got that small number of people? And he goes, yeah, I only put the people I like on my database.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh my Lord.
That's putting a new spin on. That's putting a new spin on local knowledge and friendly service. He only deals with his friends.
I only put people on my database I like. I've been doing it for 20 years and that's all I've got. I'm like, oh my Lord. So no.
He would have listed more than 400 houses.
Oh, this is the piece, right? How many people has he come into contact with? And to have only 400 people on a database, I mean, it's just so me being me, I divided the 400 by 20, then divided it by 40 weeks a year, and it ended up, I don't know, whatever the number was, very small number of connections a week, right? So I'm like, so what the hell have you been doing with the rest of your time, man? You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah. So that's
Crazy.
it. Don't be a magpie. Don't get into magpie syndrome. Be really, really sensitive to what is actually a distraction away from your core systems and processes that you need to be executing on in order to do business. I suffer all the time, right? I got a guy building a house 2 doors down from me. He had a big concrete crane in yesterday. I was like, oh, man, it looked really awesome if I had a drone shot of that. So I get the drone and I go and getting this great shot around this big concrete pumper at his house, and I send it to him. He goes, yeah, thanks. Look, it was an hour of my time, got me nothing. I got a thanks. Like, no worries. Anyway, he's a good guy, but I was just distracted. I didn't want to have to make the calls. Number 3. This is your one, Darren, that you really love. Don't let the market dictate what you do.
So I see this all the time, mate. This is one of my big focuses when I'm talking with sales teams and getting to understand. A lot of the time we end up doing the things in a day that have been dictated to us by the marketplace. So you'll be sitting at the office with your cup of coffee, searching Facebook and Snapchat, and all of a sudden the phone goes and someone says, oh, look, I want to go and have a look at the house at 123 Smith Street, and I want to see it at 11 o'clock. So the first thing that we then do is we jump up out of our chair, we grab a few bits of information about the property, jump in the car, and we race out to the appointment, right? So what ends up happening is we spend our whole week being driven by what the marketplace wants us to do. We start doing these appointments ad hoc. We start thinking about, we need to do some prospecting, but I've been interrupted because the boss has got a team meeting, and I didn't have that in my diary. And all of a sudden what starts to happen is the marketplace, the wider marketplace, starts to dictate everything that you do during the day. Then people say at the end of the day, I had a list of things that I wanted to get done today, and unfortunately I got the first one done, but I didn't get any of the others. So what I'll do is I'll put those to tomorrow. What's the challenge with that?
Well, it's going to happen again tomorrow.
Happens tomorrow. So I get to the end of the week, and guess what? One of those items on my list here was my 10 calls a day. So I've gone through a whole week having my activity driven by the marketplace, and actually the cool things that make you successful are not being done. So what I start to get people to do is actually to jump into their diary have a look last week in your diary, how much white space was in there. So how much time did you have that was unplanned or unused? And then have a think about next week, how much planning is in your diary to give you a clear plan about what you're going to do rather than have the marketplace dictate that, right? So if you've got a segment in your diary that says from 11 till 12, I'm going to do phone calling. Someone rings up and says, I want to see the property at 11. What's the first thing that you now say? Unfortunately, I've got an appointment already at 11. Can I see you at 12:30? Right? And so all of a sudden, you are dictating what's going to be done. You dictate your success. And a lot of the time now, you're going to be doing the stuff that creates the ultimate result that you want to achieve this year.
Yeah. And that zooming around, that reactionary response,
Oh,
it actually eats up minutes. So, I used to suffer this a lot, particularly when for the last, prior to last year, I used to do school drop off and school pickup, right? And so I'd get to 2:45 in the afternoon, and I'd have to leave here at 1:15, and I'd go, it's only half an hour before I have to go.
yeah.
I can't make phone calls because what happens if I get stuck on a long phone call? I won't be able to go and do pickup. So then I'd sit there and just waste that half an hour. Right? And then by the time you go and pick the kids up and you speak to some of the other parents and you get them home and you get them fed,
At
it's
4:30.
4:30, 4:30, and then you go, oh, you know what? It's too late to ring.
No one's going to answer my phone now.
Who's going to want to take a call and be interested at 4:30 in the afternoon? Right? So then all of a sudden, from 2:45 in the afternoon to that's it. The day's done.
Yeah, 100%.
So you actually end up working part-time.
And mate, when I go through this with teams and we start looking about the effective use of time and start talking about their planning of their activity, I would say that most people initially are only working half time. And in some cases, they're only working 20 to 25% of their week actually doing dollar productive activities, right? And then they say to me, Darren, I'm only earning 20 or 25 or maybe 30% of my annual target that I want to earn. And I go, well, isn't it a bell ringing here? Because you've said that you want to do this level of production, but on the other side of the coin, you're saying to me that I'm not doing the activity to generate it, right? So now let's get really clear and make sure that we get purposeful about the activity that we need to do rather than letting the market dictate what we do.
And what's really interesting is I watched some content over the Christmas period that involved Tim Ferriss, Tools of Titans guy, right?
Yeah.
Real clever.
Yeah.
I think he became famous in the world for, everyone will have it. Like it's the handbook.
It's on my bookshelf. Yeah, totally.
He was like the 4-hour work week or whatever. Like he was the first guy that really made the laptop lifestyle, whatever. But he's now matured into more serious sort of applications to business. And he was saying in this article, he said, listen, when he's gone and reviewed all the work habits of the top performers in different industries in America, he said, what's really interesting is that the top performers only really do 4 hours a day of work.
Yep.
So they get in and they do 4 solid hours of work, and that gives them an incredibly successful business. He said the other people, they spend 8 hours being busy but don't actually do any work.
Yep.
So he said if you can get up a little bit earlier, 7 o'clock in the morning, some people like getting up at 5 a.m. now and doing their yoga and all their woo-woo and whatever. He said if you can get up and get a clear 3 to 4 hours, or at least 3 hours done before anyone else starts calling you, you're
away.
You're miles in front of everyone else.
That's 100%, mate. And I think that's a big one. You got to get that. You got to get that plan in place, right? And you got to make sure that you determine what the actions are. You determine what's getting done, not somebody else or not the market. And I think if you can do that, you're away.
And if you're sitting at your desk, if you're working from home or working remotely or even working in an office, if you're sitting at your desk, make sure you're working.
Yep. 100%.
If you're not working, don't sit at your desk. I think that's the big one, right? So many people waste their lives sitting at their desks, not doing anything productive.
The stuff they need to get done. Yeah,
So
100%.
if you're not going to be sitting there doing something productive, go back to last week's number 2. Do work on your health. Do
Yeah,
something that's going to benefit. If you're sitting there doing nothing, what's the point of sitting there?
so important.
Go for a walk.
So,
Go for a walk. Do something with your health. Right.
yeah, I love it. Good job.
Number 4 in 2023. The don't do what they do. Really interesting concept. Really is.
Yeah.
So easy, and I see it so often in the market, is that you see, particularly in the content creation space and the social media marketing, is that you'll see someone do something that pops, and all of a sudden, within weeks, you'll have 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 other mini versions trying to do exactly the same thing. I can't tell you how many, after we worked with Lisa Novak, and she's a machine. All of a sudden, we've got all these mini Lisa Novaks running around, and if they're not you, they're not you. So, just do you. It's the most important thing.
Yeah, love it.
What do
Love
you
it.
reckon?
Totally agree with you, mate. And but one of the things I think, and you are very clever at this, you are very good at this, is actually decide what you are. So you don't want to do what they do, but actually you need to decide what you're going to do. And to be able to sit down and go, actually, these are the key messages. These are the things I'm going to stand out for. This is the style I'm going to do. This is the way I'm going to position myself. Make a decision about that stuff, right? So that it's yours, and then go and do that, right? So then you don't get suckered into this, oh my goodness, they're doing it that way, I'm going to copy that. Or they're doing it this way, I'm going to talk like this, I'm going to show like this, I'm going to do. And at the end of the day, you go, that's not you, that's not authentic, that's not going to carry your audience. So I think the biggest thing here is to make a decision. And if you can't, or you haven't thought about doing that, get someone like bloody Jonathan to sit down with you and get an understanding of your brand, understand your positioning, understanding what the way you can stylize your communication with your client base. Because once you got that smart, man, it can be so much more effective, you know?
Yeah, I think that's some really key points, and thank you. It probably is the part of my work that I enjoy the most. Is setting down the people's beliefs statements, really. I mean, there's a lot of archetypical work and people who go around, and the thing is, a lot of it's faulty because you get responses from people who are giving you the answers that they think are the answers you want to hear. So
Totally.
I think I told this story in one of the episodes last year. Is I went into a real estate office, and I think there's 14 salespeople, and out of the 14 salespeople, and this brand is really strong around human and caring and whatever for real estate. And in the office, out of all the salespeople, someone else had done archetypical work before I arrived, and 12 of the 14 were caregivers.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, hold on a minute, this is statistically impossible. Like, it's just not how it is, right? So there's something wrong here. So actually working out who you are. So, for me, storytelling is the key to these connections. It's the key to influence. It's the key to building trust. Before you can start telling any sorts of stories, you need to know what role you play in those stories. And if you don't know,
so stop. The only way our listeners are going to get this firsthand and get an understanding of what this looks like is to make a call with you, right? Is because your ability to be able to cut through, already I can see you can take people down a path so quickly and be able to get them into a position of understanding what they're going to look like, how they're going to do their stories, and actually position themselves in the marketplace. And the reason why I'm going to stop you is because what you're doing there is that stuff is so valuable. What you're saying there is, but it's unique, and it's a way that you have actually developed your systems to be able to support, lots of different salespeople, lots of different industries to be able to talk to their marketplace more effectively. And I think if you want to find out more about how to do that, give Jonathan a bloody call, right?
I think, folks, Darren just put a paywall up on my information, which, thank you. I appreciate it. I do. I really do. And you know what? This afternoon, one of the great things I get to do is I'm taking down to an office that I'm working with not far from where I live, framed their belief systems of who they actually are. And
so cool.
And I know I know that there's at least one lady there who's going to cry when she gets it, because she
That's so
has
cool.
lived most of her life under the masks of other people's expectations.
Yeah.
And I'm the first person that's come in there and not ranted and raved about how to do sales and how to push. But hey, who are you? And hold on a minute, I, I don't think you're quite behaving the way that you need to be, and that's why you're probably not getting the results that you want to be getting.
I love
We've
it.
changed her. We've woken her up. We've removed the mask, and guess what? Through January, I think she's got 4 extra listings than what she's had in any other January over 18 years. Right?
So I just say, this is the part that I just look. This stuff isn't brain surgery, right? There's a whole lot of stuff here that you and I have already done, already proved works, already can help people, and it's just a case of people just reaching out and going, "Hey, can you help my team? Can you show me what we do in this situation, or we're having these challenges?" And actually put some of that proven systems and processes we've already developed into their businesses. It just makes good sense, because we don't want to do what they do. We don't want to do what your competitors do. We're going to be different, and we've got to work that out. Yep,
It
absolutely.
won't work. You're just wasting your time. All right, number 5. Number 5, because we think. We think. Well, it's not that we think. We know. We know that the commentary around 2023 is going to be doom, gloom, and disaster. Right? We just know that that's where the media is going. We know it, because that's how they get their clicks. That's how they get their numbers. We know that's what they're going to be doing. Will it be as bad as they're predicting? Probably not. Will it be better? Or will it be a good year? Your best year yet? Probably not. Right? It's going to be some challenges. It's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be floods. There's going to be bushfires. There's going to be all these different things. There's going to be COVID coming back again in different forms. Delta, extra spider, kraken version, or whatever they're calling it now. Here's the thing. Here's my number 1 piece of advice. In 2023, we're not going to panic. Don't panic.
Totally.
Right. Tom Hanks, he was on a video the other day and he said it perfectly to a whole lot of other actors. This too shall pass.
Yep.
So powerful. Don't panic. Don't be reactionary. Don't go into a spiral. Don't catastrophize what's going on and what other people are saying. Be really self-aware about your own environment.
Yep.
Get
100%.
really self-aware about your own reality. What are the real challenges that you're facing? Right? And are they even challenges? Or is it that you're just being distracted by things so you don't have to make those 10 calls? Right? If things are looking bad, if your numbers aren't looking great, go back in your diary and say, did I make the 10 calls?
And you remember in the first episode this year, the number 1 thing we said to you was to get a plan, right? Get a written plan down, so that became our focus, and that became the areas that we really have to work on, right? Because if you've got a clear plan, what it does is it stops you making those impulse decisions along the way that can take you down paths you never intended to go, right?
Yeah.
So if you can actually go, these are the things that I need to focus on. These are the things that I've got to do because it's in my plan. It stops the distraction of all this doom and gloom and challenge and struggles and all of that. It takes all of that away because you've got your plan. And it means the decision making that you start to have is much clearer about what you want to achieve and not what the market's going to give you.
Yeah, I agree. Once you start feeling shaky, once you start reading the headlines, once you start doubting yourself,
Listening to
turn it all off, go back
listening to the
your
crap
plan.
in the office. What about the crap in the office? You know, you get 3 or 4 people sitting around the coffee table going, "Oh, woe is me, it's all too hard." You start believing in that, man. You've only got one way to go, and that's joining them.
And you got to look at them. They're not happy.
No,
They're happy.
come on.
They're not happy. They're sitting there. They're winning because they're not following their 5 steps. They don't have a plan. They're not you, so don't be them. Right? You don't want to be them. So look at your plan. Block out distractions. Stop watching the news. Turn your radio to easy listening, smooth FM over here in Australia. The best of the 70s, the 80s. That's when music was at its best.
No talkback.
No, avoid talkback. It's just antagonistic. I love talkback, but I love New Zealand talkback. I think it's hilarious. But if you're starting to feel the weight of the world coming down on you when it really isn't, go back to this calming stuff, right? Get out and exercise, and then go back to your plan. Follow the steps. Avoid the noise, right? Don't panic,
Let's
because
go.
this too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
Another great episode. Thank you, Darren, all the way from the other side of the ditch.
Good to see you, mate. And I'm
Awesome.
pleased to hear we're all back on deck and cracking into it. So awesome work, mate. Really, really good. And it's good to be back on the Blink podcast, mate. It's good to, I mean, the biggest thing that I think that we just want to encourage people to do is to make some comments and also chat through some questions as well. What are some things that are challenging you? What are you finding difficult? I've got a couple of things written down here. I'm going to talk to you after this episode that we can talk about next time, because I think I've got an idea. What we're going to do is make sure that episode 3 is another fantastic topic for you to be hunting out. So great to see you, mate. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. And, don't forget to rate the podcast. There are different ways that you can rate it. On the ratings, that helps us grow, spread, reach more people and help them. And also, we're going to be introducing guests. So if you've got any guests you want us to chase, that you want to hear from, that you want us to put through the ringer that is Blink, or even if you want to be a guest, maybe you got some business challenges, maybe you got some problems
Great
you
idea.
want help solved, and you're not scared to air your laundry, get some straight talk. I'll tell you what, you'll come out the other side much better off, I think. So if you're having any sort of challenges or anything, come on, let's fix it. Let's fix it for you and get you moving in 2023. Anyway, that's Blink Podcast Season 2, Episode 2. Can't wait to see you soon. Thanks, Darren. It was awesome.
See you. Take care. See you, mate.